This is the Almost Timely newsletter for the week of January 29th, 2023. Get this, yet another new course. You got the email this week, maybe. It didn't end up in your spam folder. But got a brand new, totally free course on improving your LinkedIn presence for people, for job seekers, for job hunters, for people who want to boost your personal brand. It is in the newsletter, totally free. It's in our LMS. We released it to the public for free specifically because, literally every day there's new headlines saying, hey, 10,000 more people laid off here. Reminds me of that scene from The Fifth Element. So take the course, totally free, and do the exercises in it, in each of the sections, to improve your presence on LinkedIn and increase the chances of you succeeding in your job search and building your personal brand. All right, what's on my mind this week? From algorithm to action. This is part one of this discussion. I'll be talking more about this in depth on the Trust Insights live stream this week, this coming Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, so make sure that you are subscribed to there. But I want to give you, and specifically the Save Warrior Nun folks, my friends in that community, some insights about how to think about deconstructing an algorithm and then turning those insights into action. What's this all about? What does this mean? There are a lot of signals and measures that the entertainment industry in particular uses to determine what's worth paying attention to. And one of those metrics platforms is our friends over at Parrot Analytics. The sign of a good analytics company, by the way, is one that discloses how it measures things. And Parrot Analytics has published detailed documentation and math on how their demand expressions metric works in their Demand 360 platform that they sell to industry players like Netflix, for example. So I applaud them for what they've published, for their transparency. Why do we care? Why do the Save Warrior Nun folks care about this demand expressions metric? Well, for a show like Warrior Nun, as part of the campaign to save the show, it needs to still show strong demand among its audience. So the organizers of the campaign asked the logical question: how do metrics like Parrot Analytics demand expressions work, and what can we do to improve our standing? You've probably done this yourself with other algorithms, right? You've said, how do we get seen on Instagram, or how do we get seen on Facebook, or how do we show up in Google search? Every marketer is struggling with an algorithm of some kind. And so the process of deconstructing an algorithm can help us figure out what to do. So let's take a look at the Parrot Analytics algorithm, right? This is what they've published. This is going to be our model for how we deconstruct an algorithm, to how to improve our standing with it. It's published on their website. And trigger warning, you're about to get a lot of math, right? Here's the formula. Hello, calculus, my old friend. What does this show us? Fundamentally, this is a summation formula. Right? Let's take it apart. First, on the left, we have P, which they note in the diagram is the population of a market. And in this case, a market is a geography like Brazil or France or the USA. The next part of the formula, we're going to skip the sigma and we're going to move straight to the W, is the weighting. This is the W variable. This weighting is explained as the types of actions that an audience can take around content, right? From passive impressions at the lowest level of demand, because it's super easy to rack up, passive impressions, all the way to creative participation, which is the highest indicator of demand, because it's tough to motivate people to make stuff in support of their favorite content. Think about your own marketing experience, right? When was the last time you were so excited about a product or a service that you proactively, without being asked, made a YouTube video about it? Right. Never. You've probably not done that. Some people have, but probably not. So if you have people doing this creative participation, that's a pretty good indicator of strong demand, strong passion within an audience. Third in the formula, we have a metric. This is the D, the lowercase d there, a numeric value of the expression. This would be like 200 YouTube views, or one piece of content, or 500 retweets. It's a numeric value. And finally, we have that summation function. And again, the flashbacks for those of you in calculus. The summation function aggregates each platform's weighting and numeric value. Mathematically, you are taking the population times the summation of the weighted activities in that population in every market. That's a mouthful, right? If you're still with me, if your brain is just not turned off, we deconstruct their formula into its components. Now, the next step in this process is to look at each of those expressions, the W variable, which they actually helpfully detail in a separate chart. We see here they have 4 buckets of expression types: social media, public video platforms, which they call social video, research, and free streaming, which is polite for piracy. Those are the kinds of platforms that they monitor, and they monitor for 9 different kinds of engagement, from highest demand, aka the most effort on the part of the audience, to lowest demand or least effort. Let's look at those 9 things. They're a little hard to see on the graphics. I'll just read them out here. Number 1, creative participation, aka making stuff. Right? Number 2, active consumption, aka going out and getting the content. This, I suspect, is the free streaming thing, because let's face it, if you're not used to using software like BitTorrent software, it's not exactly the easiest thing to get up and running with. So being willing to go and do that, particularly when many places it's illegal, is a good indication of demand. Number 3 is deep research, actively leaving ratings and detailed reviews, right? Leaving big chunks of original thought on somebody else's property, like IMDb. Number 4, social encouragement. Now, if I had to guess, this is probably things like reshares, reblog, quote tweets, mentions of other people, things like that. Number 5, public posting. This, again, I'm guessing is putting up basic, simple content like a Tumblr post or a tweet. Number 6 is expressing an opinion. Lower effort things like voting or leaving comments on something, leaving comments on a tweet, leaving comments on a blog post. Number 7, subscribing to updates. They don't say what that means, but I wager this is just followers of a particular account on all the different platforms, followers on the accounts of people who are creating the content, right? Because we see the creative is number 1 on the list. So are the follows on those accounts growing as well? Number 8, indicating interest. Again, I'm going to guess this is mentions, probably relative, again, very easy to hashtag something, very easy to @mention somebody on Instagram or TikTok. And number 9, passive impressions. This, I'm going to guess, is just reach numbers, right? Raw reach numbers that you can get out of SEMrush or Alexa or any of those services that track page views. Now, Parrot Analytics has not given specific details about which bucket contains which activities, but if you've been doing digital marketing for a while, it's not really that hard to figure out what should go where, right? You can make some pretty educated guesses. Now, I would also guess on the back end, they probably do some weighted averages, some centering and scaling to normalize the inputs, and then they run their formula. And I would bet you a small pastry, retail value no more than $5 US, there's at least a bit of regression analysis going on behind the scenes, specifically to assign what exactly the weights are in the demand rank, right? We have that 1 to 9, that list of 9 things. It's almost certainly not a linear measure, meaning that something at the bottom of the chart is worth, say, 1 point, and something at the top of the chart is worth 9 points. It's probably not exponential either, because the math behind that gets super messy. So I would guess it's determined by something like gradient boosting, where it's a machine learning algorithm. The values can fluctuate over time based on the input channels, right? After all, with recent management changes at certain social networks, you'd want to have the ability to have dynamic reweighting baked into your algorithm to accommodate for the changes in user habits. Now, here's the thing. We don't know what's inside the black box, but we don't have to know it. We don't have to understand what kind of neural network they've got or what kind of gradient descent algorithm they're using. We don't need to know that. What we need to know are the inputs and their weights, and we more or less have that. Compare this to, say, something like SEO. Every digital marketer who's been around for a while knows that Google's algorithms are exceptionally opaque. We do know that, for example, network graphing is part of Google's algorithm, and it has been since the very beginning, hence PageRank, right? That's network graphing. We know the specific algorithm is eigenvector centrality measurement. We have a sense of how crawling and indexing work at Google, and we know there are some manual weights because there are certain updates they've made that penalize specific types of sites that began with manual penalties. And we know that there's search quality ratings guidelines document that they publish like twice a year. That provides oblique hints at their data, but fundamentally, we don't know the inputs, and we certainly do not know the weights. So we can't make as many actionable decisions about SEO as we can say about the Parrot Analytics stuff. So this is why I like that they publish this. The last question is, what are the specific inputs in the Parrot formula? They don't disclose it in the technical guide, but it is very helpfully right on the front page of their website. So for them, social media includes Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. Free streaming includes Popcorn Time, Kodi, BitTorrent, and the Pirate Bay. Told you, piracy. Social video is Facebook Video, YouTube, Dailymotion, and Vimeo. And research is IMDb, Google, Rotten Tomatoes, and Wikipedia. Great. So now we understand the weights, we understand the actions available to us on the channels, and we know which channels they are. How do we transform all this knowledge into action? Because we've got a lot of data. We've got data, we've got details, we've got qualitative and quantitative. Now what? We have to know what resources are available to us. On this past week's Trust Insights live stream on mobilizing the community, if you catch up on it if you haven't had the chance, one of the topics we talked about was how a community behind your efforts makes your marketing much, much easier. In the case of this campaign, the Save Warrior Nun community, this is a community of people that's in the tens of thousands strong. However, compare that to a community, say, like fans of Stranger Things or Game of Thrones, whose fan bases are in the millions. In this case, the fan base is the resource limitation, right? If you don't have millions of people, you have to make different choices. So we look at the list of demand expressions and ask ourselves, given the comparatively small fan base, which, by the way, is like hundreds, if not thousands of times larger than the fan bases of many corporations, what should we pursue from that list of 9 items? Look again at the math formula. Population times the summation of weighted expressions times metrics. If you have a super large fit community, you can clock millions of low-weight expressions pretty easily, right? When Game of Thrones releases a new episode, it's low effort to get 1 million people to tweet about it. It's low effort to get people to use a hashtag. It's low effort to get people just to watch stuff or to read content passively about it. But now, put yourself in the Warrior Nun fandom's shoes. Instead of 50 million fans, you have 50,000 fans. It's still a good number, right? But this is where the weighting comes in and why understanding the math is so important. If you have a smaller fan base that's hardcore, that's dedicated, you can and should pursue higher weighted items on that list because the extra weighting from the difficulty, creative participation, for example, offsets your smaller numbers. If you got 50 million Game of Thrones fans, but most of them are couch potatoes, how many are going to engage in creative participation, making fan edits and music videos, etc.? Comparatively few in a very large population, called like 1/100%, 500 people. Now, suppose you have a smaller dedicated fan base, like the Warrior Nun community. Could you get the same number of people, say 500, to make videos? If the fan base is 100 times more dedicated, the answer is yes. And thus, you can make a bigger splash because of the math behind the algorithm. You can take a hardy band of adventurers and with the math on your side, overcome a massive army of couch potatoes. Again, if you were a marketer and you've got a competitor, that maybe competitor is much larger, think about the algorithms you want to take advantage of, and do you have that dedicated core community, even if they're not a huge community, but are they dedicated? Are they willing to go to bat for you and make stuff, create video reviews and all these things? You could take on much larger competitors and win in many algorithms if you understand the math. So, in this case, what should we do now that we know the algorithm, now that we know the math, we know the weightings? This is where you have to get smart with content repurposing because, again, in the case of the Warrior Nun fandom, it's a comparatively small army, right? You've got to be smart about the resources, about using the resources so you don't burn them out. Suppose a fan creates a single video, a musical montage of their favorite scenes from the show. For that fan to post that video on Twitter is easy, but how much additional work is it to just ask them to post it on Facebook video, on YouTube, on Dailymotion, and on Vimeo, right? Comparatively easy because the hard part, making the thing, is already done, right? So simple content repurposing. If we know the formula, if we know the math, we can give people guidance. Hey, when you put up a new edit, put it everywhere. If you're okay with sharing your work, let multiple people's accounts post the same thing, right? Get it out there, get it seen, get views on it. Remember, so we've got that creative participation, right? But there's also consumption in there. Get views on that video. Direct the community to put 10,000 views on that video to get it seen, right? Suppose we have, say, an audio recording of a fan meetup, like a Twitter space. What would it take to reimagine that content and take advantage of the algorithm? Very little, right? This is something we trusted. It's called the Transmedia Content Framework, right? You take that audio, which is what a Twitter space is, just audio, put it through a piece of software like Headliner, which transforms into an audiogram video, an animated video, essentially. Now, your audio is video. The video gets posted, Facebook video, YouTube, Dailymotion, Vimeo, and now you have satisfied the creative participation part of the algorithm with the content you've already made from a fan space in many places. There was a concert today, a fan-led concert in a Twitter space. What's the sensible thing to do? Take the recording, clean it up, slice it into individual pieces, into individual songs, and guess what? Every individual artist can now post that video in all the places, and surprise, you are multiplying the impact of your content just by transforming it, right? You take that master audio, clean it up, boom, Headliner video, boom, slice of the video, boom, 12 videos now. 12 videos get distributed, lots of views, lots of listens, you win. Suppose you had, say, some fan fiction written by a fan. Take the text, have it read aloud by someone, and feed that through Headliner. Now you have audio. You have possibly a podcast, right? Video for the social sites, and a transcript for blogs to be read by Google. This is how we as marketers, regardless of whether you're in the entertainment industry, regardless of whether you care about Warrior Nun or not, this is how we as marketers, we can dramatically multiply our impact simply by reimagining content in a variety of formats and being more places at once with the stuff we've already made. We can be more places at once with the stuff we've already made. We don't have to create net new content everywhere for every platform. We don't have to create stuff that's just for Facebook, that is just for Instagram. We can do that with the stuff we've already made. We just have to satisfy the weighted inputs of the algorithms to provide them with what they're looking for. So as long as we obtain that information about the algorithm, we can transform an algorithm into action. Take those videos. Guess what? 60-second snippets. Boom. Instagram Reel. Change the format to vertical. Now, Instagram Stories, Instagram Reel. Take the Instagram Reel, goes over to TikTok. Now you've got content on that platform. Take that 60-second snippet, that goes to the vertical platform, that goes to YouTube Shorts. Take that, condense it down to a square. Now you've got an Instagram post. Take that square video, put it on Twitter. Now you've got a Twitter post. Again, one video can become many, many pieces just by reformatting it and preparing it for the different platforms. That's how you win with the algorithm. Like, this is the important point. You can fight the algorithm and you can rail against it and stuff, or you can decode it and make it work for you. And I'm saying with the content that you have, you can take the content that you have, even if it's just a single blog post, transform it to multiple formats, slice it up, and you can win. Now, is it a lot of work? Yes, it's a lot of work. But if you have a community, if you have a team of people who are willing to help you with that work, you can win, right? In our upcoming live stream this coming Thursday, we're going to talk about Twitter and LinkedIn's algorithms to decode them live. So you want to tune in for that. But this advice that we're talking about applies to any algorithm that you can find out about. And hence, my repeated kudos to the folks at Parrot Analytics for being bold enough to post theirs online so we know how to optimize our marketing efforts. Whatever algorithm you are marketing against, decode it so that you can turn the algorithm into action. That's what's on my mind this week. All right, let's see what else is in the news. We've had a lot of fun with some math. Besides the newly refreshed Google Analytics 4 course and the new LinkedIn course for content this week, check out last week's live stream. It was a lot of fun. We covered a lot of ground. It was really useful. This week also did a great podcast mic test. I baked off 8 or 9 different mics using Adobe Podcast to see which ones sounded the best, gave you that studio quality sound. You'd be surprised what the answer is. Go watch that episode. It's a lot of fun. I also talked a bit about momentum and stuff and Chat GPT because, everyone has to talk about that these days. Let's see what's in the new job description this week. We've got Director of Data Analytics and Insights at the Smithsonian Institution. That would be a lot of fun. Head of Marketing at OWOX BI, friends of ours from the Ukraine. Lead Data Engineer at 9:30. Paid Search Google Ads Manager at Take Some Risk. Program Manager Analytics at Thrive. Senior Digital Marketer at OWOX. And Web Analytics Engineer at Red Hat. So some great stuff coming out there. What else we got in the news this week? New brand safety tools at Twitter. Sure. ByteDance and TikTok are going on the offensive in PR to try and offset pressure for their app to be removed. Use content marketing to find a job. Yet again, more Chat GPT stuff. I think it's just eating the world. Search quality rating guidelines updates. SEO split test results. We also have AI stuff, AI in sports, Auto ML, Shutterstock now offering AI image creation using DALL-E 2 from OpenAI. Data science books to check out. This week, the IBM Champions program announced its 2023 IBM Champions, and I am very happy to say that I'm now in the program for the 6th year in a row, helping to promote IBM's products and services, particularly for me, IBM Watson and the IBM Data and AI group. So look for more content this year about that. Last year we did some live streams and stuff. This year, hopefully going to do the same kind of thing. And then Dealer's Choice, got some stuff on embeddings, After Effects. I got a chance to dabble with Adobe After Effects this week, which was a lot of fun. I'm going to be doing more of that. And an inbound bold talks from a while back that a friend was asking about. Upcoming events, I'll be at Martechopia in London at the end of March. If you're interested, there's a link in the newsletter. Use Mars Speaker 20 for 20% off the ticket price to that show. And I'll also be at B2B Ignite in Chicago in May of 2023. And there's a couple other events. We're just working out the paperwork right now. And then once all the paperwork is done, we'll be able to talk about them as well. That is the news for this week. Lots of interesting stuff going on. Do stop by the Trust Insights live stream. We're doing a lot of fun stuff on there. Bring your questions. I love hearing people's questions live on the air to see what's on people's minds. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.